Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'll be talking about some of the small little interaction within Yu-Gi-Oh itself that's causing some sort of confusion, especially among the new players. So I decided to do this. I'm not sure if this will be called a series, but if there's something that I think of, then I'll be doing it. And today I'm going through this thing about the miss activation timing, how come some of the cards you have will miss timing and some won't, and how does this thing triggers its effect. Yeah, so before I go into the video, do remember to like, subscribe and comment down below. Join our Discord channel and hit the notification bell if this is something that you're enjoying watching. Yeah, so yeah, let's continue the video. And so yeah, so in this video I'll be talking about how this misactivation timing works, and it's mainly focuses on two types of cards. One is cards that says when this card is something like synchro summon or summon, and another is if this card is synchro summon or if this card is summon. So for example here, I can show you two different cards. One is formula synchro. It says when this card is synchro summon, whereas there's also another card that says if this card is synchro summon. So the wording here, if and when, makes a huge difference, and the one that you need to take note is if your card says when. When means that this condition must be the last effect that happens after resolving the chain. So what do I mean? So let's take a look at this small mini recording that I did. So this is something very common. So if let's say opponents activate some sort of card, and then you let's say decided to chain your Hardy Freebucks into Formula Synchro, and then once Formula Synchro come out, the effect is actually when this card is Synchro Summon, you can draw a card. So let's say now it jumps out, and then your reinforcement resolve, and then you realize that this mistiming thing will happen because this is a when card. So if you realize just now, let me move back a bit. Okay, you can see within this chain 1 is actually reinforcement of the army, and chain 2 is Hardy Freebucks. So what's resolving is your Hardy Freebucks will resolve first, and then the synchro summon happens here. So this chain, you resolve the synchro summon first, and then your reinforcement of the army, because that's how you chain it. It's a chain 1 reinforcement of the army and chain 2 formula synchro. So if this happen, the last thing that resolve on the field is actually reinforcement of the army, not the synchro summon of formula synchron. That is why this pop-up will happen, which tells you that your effect has missed time. You can't draw one card using this. Okay, I mean at least the draw one card isn't that significant here, but this will explain this part. So how do you counter this thing, or how do you make sure that you don't misactivate? So for this particular scenario, if you want to make sure that you don't miss time, this is what you need to do. So usually what will happen, we want to respond to something that's active, like after opponent activates, we want to, let's say, jump Hardy Freebucks into Formula Synchro for me to do an Excel Synchro. But if you really want the draw and you don't want to mistime that, you should not activate it on top of a chain 1. So Hardy Freebucks should always be chain 1 to make sure your Formula Synchro is won't miss time. So at this point in time, as you realize, all the card has been resolved, and only after that you should activate Hardy Freebucks effect and synchro summon. So this is now your chain 1. And then even if let's say your opponent has anything on top of chain 2, 3 and 4, it doesn't matter because you are chain 1 itself, and the last thing that happened within this chain is actually your Formula Synchron being synchro summon. So in this case, if you realize, once it's touched a field, you can then activate its effect to draw one card. Yeah. So this is what happens when you are using a card that says when something. This card, the condition that's mentioned here, when this card is synchro summon, the synchro summon must be the last effect that is happening within the chain. So okay, let's take a look at the mistiming one again first. So if you see here, reinforcement is actually chain 1, whilst Hardy Freebucks is chain 2. So at this point, your formula synchro will jump out in chain 2, whereas then your reinforcement will resolve itself at chain 1. So formula synchro is synchro summon during your chain during the chain 2 itself, and the last thing that happens is actually reinforcement of the army. So that is why there's a mistiming. Yeah. So this is one example. So let's take a look at another example that I can think of with this deck. So another example is a lot of time we will want to bring out Odd Eyes Absolute, and I mean link Odd Eyes Absolute with harmonizing to go into Crystal Hardy Freebucks. So for those who don't know, Odd Eyes Vortex effect is when this card is special summon, you can target one and return it to the hand. So then again, then you realize this is a when card again, so you need to take note of your chaining for this. So if usually if let's say now I link into Hardy Freebucks with Absolute and Harmonizing, then I'll get to choose 2 effects, because there's actually 2 effects that can be triggered at this time. So it's either Hardy Freebucks or Absolute. So if let's say in normal case, I will think of, okay, I don't want opponent to Ash Blossom and Hardy Freebucks, so actually I'll go for Hardy Freebucks chain 1 and then Absolute chain 2. So this is what will happen. So let's say if now I go for Hardy Freebucks chain 1 and then Absolute chain 2. So the first thing that will resolve first is your Absolute Dragon, which will special summon my Vortex Dragon out. And then your Hardy Freebucks will summon a 3-star tuner. And then the mistiming thing will happen because the last thing that happened within the chain is not your Odd Eyes Absolute. So you can see from the chain here, chain 1 is Hardy Freebucks, chain 2 is Absolute. So your Odd Eyes Vortex actually comes out during the chain 2 itself. So which will miss timing because your Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon effect is when this card is special summoned. So yeah, take note of the when word here. So in this case, if let's say instead of resolving the chain that way, now I get Hardy Freebucks, link summon using Absolute and Harmonizing again. Okay, Hardy Freebucks will come out. And in order to, if you want Vortex effect to resolve properly, remember you always want the card with the when word to resolve first. So now I'll go for chain 1 Absolute Dragon and then chain 2 Hardy Freebucks. And then in this case, when the chain resolve, the last thing that happened is the fusion summon of the special summon of Odd Eyes Vortex. So in this case, then I can activate this effect to bounce 1 card back. Yep. So this is the key thing about when and if. So let's take a look again. So take note, if it's a if, like your shooting riser, it doesn't have to be like the last show or anything, it just has to happen. Yeah, this only works if the card is having an if statement, the if word here. If this card is single summon, regardless of the chain. But if your card effect uses the word when, this thing, the condition here must happen in the last chain. So do take note of this. This is very, very important, especially if you really don't want to miss time. There's a lot of card that has this interaction when this card, so do take note. So for example, let's take a look at another one. And for example, when this card is normal summon, so this thing must be chain 1. And usually when you normal summon a card, it's usually a chain 1 because that's the first thing that happened. Yeah, but so do take note. It's similar to how all your hand trap works when a card effect is activated. So when it can only negate the last thing that happened in the chain. So it's something quite similar, I would say. But just to not confuse, just take note when it's a when card, when the effect has a when, make sure it's resolved at chain 1. Yeah. So yeah, I hope this explained a bit more on why how this if and when thing works, and hope to hope everyone can avoid this if possible, of course. Yeah. So yeah, that's all for this video, and if you are enjoying all this small little explanation, do feel free to drop in the comment section below and let me know. Or if you think there's something that's very interesting that you think it will be good for especially new players to know, do feel free to let me know as well. I'll create a video out to explain all this. Yeah. So my main thing of the channel is to really to guide new players especially. So yeah, other than that, yeah, so if you are enjoying the content so far, don't remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Join our Discord and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest video. And I'll see you guys in the next video.